Today, I'm in New York City at ICFF, the International Contemporary Furniture Fair. I'm your host, Wesley Edmonds, and I'll be sitting down with some of the show's most distinguished speakers and guests. Let's escape the noise for a bit. Join me in the room.
Sabrina, thank you so much for sitting down with me. It's such a pleasure to finally meet you in person.
I am so excited to be here, Wesley. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. I've been so excited to sit down and talk with you. I mean, I have the pleasure of living in Atlanta, where Habitat is headquartered. And so I have been on builds myself with work teams and with church team. And it's just such an amazing organization. But I want to hear how you got to Habitat. And so tell me your journey about getting to Habitat. And then I have some other questions I want to ask you too.
Oh, I love that. I will tell you, I think my journey, unbeknownst to me, started early. So I was born and raised in Queens. I am a first-generation Latina from a working-class family. And my parents were able to buy in the late 70s, early 80s, their first home in Jackson Heights, Queens.
Oh, that's so cool.
And when I look around at my peers, I always wondered, like, what was that variable? And as I got older, I realized it was homeownership. And so as a first-generation Latina, I went to the private sector first after college. And my parents were able to leverage this asset for higher education and for starting a small business. And so I was in the private sector for a while and loved it. I was in commercial real estate. I love the built environment. And so I had done office, I had done residential, but I hadn't touched housing yet. And it was at a time in my life where I was ready to make the leap and to do something that was more aligned with my value system. And so I found Habitat the first time around, and that was almost 10 years ago.
That's amazing. It's almost like you're giving yourself back to what helped create you, like the homeownership, the journey of where you got as a child and growing up here and then helping people find that for themselves.
It is probably the most, the amount of responsibility, I think, and just the privilege that it is for me to now be able to be in this space. I'll share with you, Wesley, that, I found Habitat that first time. And one thing that I recognize so quickly is for us to do this work in a market like New York City, where the crisis is massive, we're not able to do this alone, right? The nonprofit sector can't do it alone. So I left Habitat and I joined the city of New York, and I worked with the city's economic development corporation. And my role there really was to understand how to navigate, right? The public sector, understand how do things get done on the government side. And I was there for about 5 years. I had the immense privilege to manage the city's real estate portfolio, which was so fun.
That had to have been so interesting.
Oh my gosh. Everything from Times Square in downtown Brooklyn to Coney Island, some of the museums, Hunts Point.
That is so cool.
All the best little crevices of New York City all rolled into one.
Oh, that's so neat.
And after 5 years of that, I believe so deeply that the universe places things in certain areas. And I was ready to think about what was next. And Habitat was something that just had lived with me so deeply, the homeownership piece. And 2 years ago, I was on a subway and the board chair for Habitat came on the train as I was coming off. And he was like, we need to talk. And it didn't occur to me. I was like, oh my gosh, being a CEO is not something that had ever occurred to me really. Yeah. But it just made so much sense. And so now to be able to marry my public sector, my private sector knowledge, and to bring it to this mission that I've never left and I love so deeply, and then tying it with that personal connection is just such an amazing feeling.
You have a dream job.
It is dream. It is a dream.
That is so cool. So I want to understand a little bit about what it looks like to be the CEO of Habitat for Humanity in New York and Westchester.
Yeah.
What is that? What does your job look like?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. Yeah. I feel so privileged. Habitat for Humanity, as you know, started out in Americus, Georgia. Our headquarters are in Atlanta. And the beauty of this organization is that they recognize that housing is very unique to its geography, right? And so the way we're structured as a nonprofit is actually an affiliate system. So I am the CEO for New York City and Westchester. I am a standalone 501c3. So in every sense of the word, I am hyper local. So
absolutely.
I have my own board of directors, and we are absolutely looking to how do we solve the housing crisis in the 5 boroughs and the county of Westchester. But I have this ability to also leverage this massive network of peers. And
very interesting.
Yeah, so being a CEO here is so interesting because My day-to-day, we are an affordable housing developer. We have 400 homes in our development pipeline.
Oh, amazing.
And it's for home ownership. Like that is our North Star.
Yes.
And it feels like an oxymoron in a city like New York that has the lowest home ownership rate.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, it really does.
But it shouldn't be, because the backbone of the city is its working people. It's our bus drivers, it's our nurses, it's our small business owners, right, that keep this city moving. And for them to stay, they want to build, right? They want a family here, and they shouldn't have to leave when they have committed, so much of their time and investment and generations in building this city.
Yeah, it feels wrong to ask the people that give so much to New York to then leave New York
Yes.
in order to live.
Yes.
Like that just feels so backwards.
Absolutely. That is the backwards thing, not creating homeownership opportunities. That is the path, right?
Yes.
And that's how you keep New York. People love New York City because of its diversity, its food, and all of that is possible because of the working people that make it so. And so for me, what a CEO looks like and what my job looks like is spreading the word. Listen, we are so blessed with the Habitat brand. The downside of that brand is people are like, but you don't do anything in New York. Like, how could you?
Right.
And we can. The news is we can. There are so many families here that are ready to purchase their first home. And
so
we
cool.
make that possible for them. And so that's my job.
I love that so much. And okay, I have an ignorant question.
Yeah, no such thing.
Coming from Atlanta, like I said, I've been on some builds before. And in Atlanta, Georgia, what it looks like is even if you're in the city, there's land, it's a yard, it's a front yard, it's a backyard, it's a freestanding house, kind of typical footprint for what I know of, at least. So when I picture, like you were saying, I can see how the struggle would be there for New York City. Because I'm thinking, okay, but where? Where are you going to put it?
Right.
And so that's my ignorant question. Where does this house get built?
Oh my gosh, it's not ignorant at all.
Where's it going?
I think that's exactly part of the challenge is wrapping your mind around, where else is there left to build?
And I don't see any spots.
And I will share with you, there are a few different ways it happens. And part of that kind of beginner story of like working with the city and understanding, the beauty of New York City is that as a government, it has retained ownership of a lot of land that is underutilized. And so what they do is they send out a request for proposals and say, this is an abandoned parcel. We have, NYCHA homes that have been abandoned for 40 decades.
Sure.
And so what Habitat does is we respond to those and we say we can build everything from a single family home like they do in Atlanta, all the way to an 80-unit co-op building on these parcels of land. And that's what we've done is we find these underutilized sites. I'll give you one example that we're building right now. We have 115 homes that we're putting up in Brooklyn. And it's called, this is what I love. I love how creative we get with our names for these projects. One of them is called Mosaic and the other one is Constellation.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's scattered sites that are all throughout Ocean Hill, Brownsville. This is a neighborhood that has such low home ownership rates, but it houses so much of our working class. And so now we've taken these little parcels of land that sometimes people just throw trash in or and we are clearing it, putting up a 3 to 4 story, 8-unit to 10-unit co-op building. And now you are inviting 10 families to own a piece of Brooklyn.
That is so
And so that's what it's about. It's finding those pieces.
Especially when you just think about who might walk past that building, thinking like, oh, I could never afford that.
Right.
And fast forward some time, some years, some hard work, some donations, some funding, and they own a piece of Brooklyn. Like
That's exactly right.
Like that is just, that blows my mind in the best way. That makes me so happy.
And Wesley, can I share with you kind of how New York City started? Because I think it speaks to why we build the way we build.
Yeah.
So this affiliate started in 1984 in the Lower East Side.
Okay.
And the way it happened, the Lower East Side back in 1984, for those of us who were here, not a place you wanted to visit. Not super cute. Alphabet City, not so great.
Cute.
Not super cute.
Not even up and coming, really.
Right, not at all. And so what was so sad is, when the Bronx was burning and the city was facing bankruptcy, you had these just abandoned buildings. And there was this one building called Mascot Flats, and there was a group of volunteers that came together under the Habitat umbrella to say, we're going to rehabilitate this and get it back to where it needs to be. President Carter was in the city. This is post-presidency. And the volunteers called him up and said, why don't you come on over and take a look at what Habitat is building? President Carter had met with our founder down in Georgia.
I was going to say that also comes full circle. That makes sense.
That relationship really was, they were talking and conversing about what that mission was all about. But it wasn't until he came and visited that building in the Lower East Side. He went up to the roof, precariously so, because it was pretty dangerous. But he looked out into the city and saw this glistening, gorgeous skyline. And then he looks down and sees this old woman cooking her breakfast by an open fire. And he's like, how is it possible that in the wealthiest, most rich city in the world, there is an old woman cooking her breakfast by an open fire? This is not okay. He looked back at the volunteers and said, what can I do? And they said, we really need carpenters. And 2 weeks later, he and Rosalind showed up with Greyhound buses. And that was the first time he ever swung a hammer for Habitat for Humanity.
Oh my word.
Was in the Lower East Side. That building, you can visit today. It's on East 6th Street.
Oh my gosh.
Half of those homeowners originally are still living there today.
So it's generational.
It's generational. And that street, East 6th Street, just got renamed Jimmy Carter Way this past fall, which is really, really special. And so it just talks about, I mean, you look at some of the families that are there, Wesley. We have a family that is now, their daughter is a district leader in the Lower East Side. Like, that is the story of having stability. It allows you to invest in your community.
Yeah, people need a space to call their own. Ironically, I come across this a lot when thinking about the workplace, because people panic about this idea that, like, I'm going to show up and our footprint's been cut in half and I don't really have a place to sit. And so now that I don't have a place to sit, there's nowhere for my family photos to go. And I used to keep, like, that award that means so much to me on my desk, and I don't have a desk. And there is something to be said for giving people ownership and space, and to the nth degree when you talk about home, like a place to put a doormat, a place to where your kids come home and it's the same place every time. And it doesn't have to be fancy schmancy. While we would all like to put some of the things from the ICFF show floor in our home, it's okay if you can't. It's just that place that's a place of permanence, a place of stability. It kind of shows, like, okay, I can do this.
Absolutely. And I think, it's so fascinating. And I think your workplace comparison is so, it resonates, because it is about realizing that it is more than just ownership. It's about what that sense of place allows for, right?
Yeah.
Like, that desk that is yours isn't the only thing that builds the culture
of
your office, right? And so it's figuring out what are those things that allow for that.
If we're going to remove that, what are we replacing it with that still makes them feel like they're home?
That's exactly right.
Culture has to live outside of physical desks.
Yeah.
These families are building families inside of the home.
That's exactly right.
And the home sets the foundation, but it's the people, it's the relationships, it's the fact that they're a part of building it themselves. I know that's part of the
sweat equity model.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's like, cannot not help build your home in some way, right? At the Habitat, you have to be a part of that build.
That's exactly right. I mean, our families, just to give you a sense, 80% of the families we serve are single moms of color that are working 2 or 3 jobs. So you're looking at a woman who is a paraprofessional, working in a school in the daytime. She is a health homemaid at night, and then maybe she picks up a few shifts at a coffee shop just to make ends meet, right? So she makes too much income to qualify for government programs, but then doesn't make enough to ever be able to move on that economic mobility scale. And so you're stuck and you feel lost in the middle. And so when Habitat comes in and says, hey, we want to work with you, you're going to, and they purchase their homes. I mean, I think one of the misconceptions is the homes are given away.
No.
These families put in sweat equity in so many ways, not only volunteering and building, but also learning that leap from renter to first-time homeowner, right? Like the financial literacy, the minor plumbing repairs, all of those things matter.
Yes.
And in New York, what's unique is that because we do so much co-ops, right? We are building limited equity cooperatives. How do you function as a really well-oiled co-op board?
Right.
And that training is something they're a part of, and they spend hours learning.
Cool.
And that's what's led to our success. That's why families thrive and are able to to continue to like build this for generations
I
after.
think people kind of assume sometimes that just like a gift is the best thing that you could do, but that sweat equity takes it from being something that's not personal, or maybe not like, oh, thanks. Like you don't have ownership in it. When you get that sweat equity, monetary, I mean like actual money equity into the home, you have to like, this is mine.
Yeah.
Like I did this. No one did this for me, which kind of gives you that, like, I can do hard things.
That's
I
exactly
can
right.
do hard things. I'm going to have these 3 jobs, but my children are safe. I did that. I did that.
There is a pride and a dignity component that is so critical to this. And it is exactly that. When you're a part of it, it matters. And that's why like the data is so overwhelming. When you have home ownership and you have strong home ownership, I mean, the civic engagement is so much higher. Your health outcomes, your higher education outcomes, your ability to really build community because you're so invested in that neighborhood. And all of that has like an economic impact surrounding it. So to me, everything starts with home and then
that ripple
effect. Exactly.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. Okay, so all of this, what brings you to ICFF? I know you got to speak earlier today, but what else is it about this conference that led Habitat here? Because I think some people might be like, wait, what?
Yeah, what's the connection?
Yeah, what's the connection here? So tell me a little bit about that.
There are so many points of intersection.
Yeah.
I mean, just, referencing the conversation we had earlier where the theme was design with dignity. And one of the things that we care about so deeply at Habitat is affordability and design and high design do not have to be mutually exclusive. Not everything has to be government beige, right? For it to work and be affordable. Like
anybody who has had to renew a driver's license lately is laughing out loud because they're like, "Can I get an amen?"
Oh my goodness! Like
so much beige.
we can be more creative. Like we can embrace design, right? And there is a dignity that comes whether we can all afford the stuff at ICFF. Is questionable, but it doesn't mean that it has to be mutually exclusive.
Exactly right.
And I think one of the beautiful things of Habitat is we've recognized this through our Restore. Our Restore is such like an innovative, thoughtful retail concept. Basically, if you have things at ICFF that you can't truck back, give it to us, donate it to us. We bring them up to Yonkers to a store that we have right on Upper Hannah Avenue. And if, Wesley, if you're getting rid of your kitchen cabinets, you can donate those. We sell them to the public at 80% off retail. So not only does it divert this waste from landfills, we can also support the mission of building through all the sales and be able to help the public and our homeowners furnish their homes at, pennies on the dollar. And so it's such a win-win-win. And it's really about our opportunity to tell that story.
Yeah.
And so to me, there's a lot of intersectionality.
Yeah,
here.
I think for sure. When I was a student at the University of Georgia, we did this project through IIDA student chapters where we were doing these bedroom redesigns. So some of the details I forget, but I remember that we had budget was laughable. I mean, it was like, $100. I mean, it was just almost nothing. We had to work with whatever that family, it was a family in the local community, and one of their children would win the right to have this makeover by this design program. But we had to work with what was there. And a lot of it was just about okay, what do they like? What do they like to do? And we would kind of see them for who they are. And it would be just kind of getting these design students to think creatively outside of a project basis or something like that. But we would get to go in and kind of create this refreshed version of their bedroom. And they would come in and it'd be super, pennies on the dollar. I mean, it was just bare bones, but it would be something that was made specifically for them. And this conversation takes me straight back to that. Cause I remember thinking what an impact it made.
I love that.
To these. Yes. And it was usually, coming from government housing perhaps, or it was something, most college towns tend to kind of edge on a government housing or affordable housing, plots of land. And so that's what we were working with. And it was just this light bulb moment of, it doesn't have to be money. It's not that you just have to dump funds into something to make someone feel so seen.
That's
and
exactly
that ability that they can. And then we would kind of talk a little bit about how design can change a space and how it can just change the way people feel in an environment. So if it's this spunky little girl in her office, her bedroom just feels like kind of dark and drab because that's just what they have. We would just change out a couple things, paint the walls light and bright, and just have her feel like, oh my gosh, this feels so fun and like so much like me. And same for a teenager who's just like, these pink walls are killing my vibe. You know, we're like, let's go black, man. Like, let's do it.
All right.
But we just like, who are you? What makes you happy? And it just takes me straight back to that I do think there's a lot of misconception that high design equals just so much cost. Like you just have to pour money into something. And it's just not true. It's not, just really not.
It's not. And I love what you're saying, because it's about the journey, not the destination, right? And so it's about that journey of working with that family. And so to me, it's that, like, design is, there is like a relationship that is being created, whether that relationship is between the designer and the art, or the designer and the end user, or the artist and the student, or the student and the family, or the builder and the partners and the neighbors. That journey of experiencing, understanding, like, what is a true reflection, allowing that creative space to happen.
Yeah.
That's where the magic is.
Absolutely.
The end result is wonderful. It's great.
Yeah.
But the magic really is in the process, and allowing people who are so consumed with just making it to take a breath and say, what would I like in here?
Yeah.
And just that ability to do that, the ability to dream, is so powerful. And I think it's wildly underrated. And I think that's what design is all about.
Absolutely. What's one of your favorite like success stories of a Habitat family? I'm sure you have a gazillion, but I want to hear, like, even if it's.
There are so many.
I'm sure.
There are so many. Like it's really, really hard for me to answer that, because when I think the beauty of Habitat, because it is homeownership and our families stay in these homes for so long, we're able to like grow with them and see how the kids succeed and move into, I mean, it's just fabulous when you see a kid who has a door for the first time, right? And it's just opening and closing that door. I just can't believe it. It is so powerful.
Tear me apart. My goodness.
It's so powerful. But I will share with you one, because I think it speaks to the ability of being able to dream, right? Once you have this stability. One of our, actually in that first building that President Carter built, there's a gentleman by the name of Don Cow. He's one of our homeowners. He and I went together to President Carter's memorial in DC. We got to travel together. And his story is just so unbelievably powerful, because Don was suffering from significant health issues in the 80s, and he was building alongside President Carter for the unit he still lives in. He's still one of our homeowners there. And what he ended up doing, he was in a space where he was, trying to pay for medication at the same time as rent, and, just all of these things. And he talks about how moving into the Habitat home gave him this breathing room that allowed him to say, okay, now I know I have stability of place. I know what my mortgage is going to be. There is no landlord that's going to hike up my rent. I have this co-op board. We're all shareholders and depending on one another. So they've built this family.
Yeah.
And what he decided to do is he had the ability to start his own nonprofit. And so he started a nonprofit to help at-risk youth in the Lower East Side with similar health challenges that he had and other things. And now you're fast forwarding 40 years later, he has helped thousands upon thousands of at-risk youth. He has been so successful that his work is being cataloged by the New York Public Library. And that to me is the Habitat story, right? Is that once you have this, then what? Like, the opportunity is endless. That to me is the bigger story, right?
Absolutely.
Is giving people that chance to take a deep breath and say, actually, what do I want? We have one of these, right? Based on what we know, we have one life to live.
Yes.
So how wonderful is it to think about providing the stability for a family to say, all right, I've got this.
Yeah.
Where do I want to take this?
Absolutely.
And to me, that is I can say that story for all of the 5,000 families that we have worked with.
What that makes me think of, Sabrina, is like, when you pass people on the street, I think it's very easy for us to forget, and I'll just speak for myself here. I won't throw anyone else under the bus. I'll throw myself under the bus. It's very easy for me to forget that that person maybe did have a home, maybe lost a job unexpectedly, and that's what, who knows where they were last week. We don't know. But also that person has a set of gifts, and we don't know what they could end up doing with those.
Absolutely.
Until they're given an opportunity. And I think that goes back to that idea of like a gift versus sweat equity.
Yes.
Because sometimes the downside to some of the government programs, and there are a ton of upsides, but sometimes the downside is that it's a lot of, you don't necessarily have to put in sweat equity in order to receive some of the benefits. The fact that someone is like, you're now on the board of this co-op, and so we're going to teach you leadership skills. You're going to learn how to be business skills, how to talk to other members of your board, and how to write down minutes, how to make sure that it's like all of these things.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, goodness, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the second someone says, like, not just, you were hungry and so here's something else. You were hungry, so here's something else. But like, I'm going to empower you to tap into who you were made to be, give you the foundation to make some risks, because it's really impossible to take some of these risks if you have nothing.
Absolutely.
But if you're given the ability to buy into your future, it gives you that confidence to say, okay, I'm really smart.
Yeah.
I'm actually a really smart person, or I actually have a lot of intelligence around this subject. Let's see what I can do with this. Or maybe it's the fact that they're able to send their kids to school and their kids end up becoming some
1000%.
graduate student of, I mean, you just don't know. And when we pass those people on the sidewalk, and again, talking to myself here, sometimes you forget to think, like, I wonder what is inside of that human being, and what they could create, what they could make, what they could do, where they could go. And so that to me just is, I mean, Habitat is opening the door to what humans were made to do, but may not have realized without it.
I thank you for saying that, because
I mean it.
Because Wesley, it's so true. And I think we're just, we live in an age where we are so overwhelmed by just so much, right?
Yeah.
That you almost feel like powerless. Like, and also like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to. And here's what I will say. The way Habitat got started, it was in Americus, Georgia, in a segregated part of the Deep South, where white people and Black people came together to live in community and say, hey, one of our neighbors needs a home, let's build it. And that, to me, the power that lies in that, I think it's so easy in our day and age to, like, we're kind of waiting for someone to, like, save us. Without realizing that, like, it's us. Like, we're waiting for ourselves. We're waiting for ourselves. And so it's like, when you walk by someone, like, yes, do we all have judgment? Of course. Yes. Okay, recognize it. Like, the beauty in that you can recognize that and say, okay, that's something, I'm recognizing that. But also there is this other piece where, okay, so why are we so different? You know?
Oh my gosh.
And like, how do we...
It's a couple different decisions and we're right next to each other.
Exactly. And the more we understand and recognize that there's so much more that makes us alike than makes us different. I think one of the biggest challenges that we've had as a society is so easy to, like, other something.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That other. But the minute you have exposure, you're like, oh, oh yeah, I have some of the same challenges. Oh yeah, I go through some of the same stuff.
Oh yeah.
And it's really hard to demonize that once you have exposure to it.
That's so good.
And I think the beauty of Habitat is also in the fact that we mobilize volunteers. Like, we have thousands of New Yorkers that come out every year to build alongside our communities, our neighbors, right? Yeah. Whether you're coming with your company, whether you're coming with your church, whether you're coming with your school. And that in and of itself is so powerful. And I think, because we're fed so much negativity, maybe we don't see it because it's not in front of us.
Right.
But that is how that's the impact we can make. That is the power we hold, which is so strong. And I see it every day. That's why I feel like Sometimes I feel like selfish because this is such a privilege to witness.
Love that perspective.
There is so much goodness in this world.
So much goodness.
So much goodness.
Yeah, you just have to be looking for it.
Yes.
You just have to be
and
looking
you will
for it.
find it. Like
Yeah.
I see it every single day.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yeah. Okay, that beautifully leads me to my last question for you,
Yes.
Sabrina, which I did not prepare you for on purpose.
I
want
like
to know
it.
what brings you joy.
Oh my goodness. I love this. My daughter brings me immense amounts of joy. My family, my husband we talk about this often, I think. When I met my husband, like the amount of, like when you realize you meet your like soul partner, your soulmate, it's so hard to imagine that there could be like a greater love than that.
Yeah.
And then that our love has made this like incredible daughter that I don't think I could even imagine like bringing in a life that is so full of like the purest of joys.
Yeah.
That like her just being in her area of the joy she holds
Yes.
is the joy,
Oh, I
is
love
all the
it.
joy I need.
I love it. And how old is she?
She's 10.
She's 10.
She's 10, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Me.
It's so fun. And it's funny because, you know, every stage, and we're like that one and done. We're very, very happy with our daughter. And every stage, you know, I recognize I have to mourn that era, but I don't realize like how much more beautiful the next one is. And it comes with its
Yes.
own sets of challenges.
Yes, it does.
But with its own set of like new joys. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, a lot of my joy comes from this role, of course, but
Oh,
my
I love that so
family.
much. Oh, yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be able to go home to something real good.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
I
going to be
do, I
pouring
feel-
so much of yourself out on a regular basis, you got to be able to get filled back up. And it sounds like your
Oh, it
husband and
fills me
daughter do that so well.
absolutely so well.
Well, this has been a joy for me in every
Oh,
way.
thank
I have
you.
loved talking with you. I wish we had just so much more time to
This
just
was
keep
really
going.
fun.
You've been a delight, and I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Wesley.
Thank you,
Same here.
Sabrina.
Thank you for creating the space for these conversations.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get it out to more people. Thank you.
You've been in the room at ICFF. Thanks for joining.